Hi, I'm Donal McCauley. Today I'm talking to Dr. Savita Rani, who's a doctor, an artist, and a poet. What a combination. Savita, tell me a little bit about your journey and how you came through medical school, postgraduate, and combining all these other interests.
That's a great question, and I think it's not been a straightforward journey in terms of trying to combine kind of all those interests the way that it's manifested now. It's taken me a little bit of time. So, when I first started medical school, I think I did put my creative passions and endeavors a little bit on the back burner, as you know, in a free moment, I would do a quick drawing here or there, but I hadn't quite yet established a nice practice where I integrated my creative work with my clinical world. But then, as I moved into postgrad, I actually switched tracks as far as specialties go. I started out in family medicine, clinically focused, but then transitioned into public health and preventive medicine. And so, in that second, the public health preventive training that I'm doing now, I had the opportunity to take we take a master's of public health as part of that training, and within the master's, I had the opportunity to take a couple elective courses that really kickstarted things for me as far as being able to integrate kind of the creative and medical aspects of, yes, my interests. So I took a an elective in graphic medicine, which is the use of comics as a mode and method of communication in medicine or in healthcare more broadly. And that can be in terms of patient, like communicating with patients, communicating within the field to other practitioners as a form of kind of medical or healthcare education. It can also be a form of self-expression, kind of memoir, patient practitioner memoir. So it's just the medium of comics and can be used in a variety of different ways in the context of healthcare. And that was pretty awesome to be able to have a whole semester that I had dedicated time, because it was a class, to make comics. And I found that making comics as part of that class really, for me, it was actually a pretty cathartic, self revelatory. Like, I came up with some revelations about my place in medicine, and just the I've always maybe felt a little bit like a fish out of water in medicine, and realizing that allopathic medicine, at least in this country, is very much underpinned by colonial, heteropatriarchal, sexist, racist, ableist, all of the isms. It's kind of no wonder that someone like me might feel out of place in the um, mainstream medical culture, and being able to express myself in that in a creative manner really helped actually solidify that for me. I didn't really come to those realizations until I had this creative means of expressing it. And I mean, that's actually one of the big things that led me towards this fellowship with the CMAJ, because I mean, there's so many ways of decolonizing medicine as a broad term. One way is to look at kind of knowledge, ways of knowing, and how medicine, allopathic medicine, the current culture favors certain ways of knowing and doing, and methods of creating knowledge and presenting evidence, favors certain types of those compared to others. You know, for example, indigenous ways of knowing and doing are kind of systematically under valued, or at least historically have been. And that's just one example. And so something I've been interested in when coming into the journal was um, trying to expand the vision of how knowledge can be created but also consumed as a way of kind of taking down the veil of elitism and secrecy and kind of black box mystery of what a medical journal is, and how things work in it. Because you know, journals, kind of change in medicine happens on the pages of the journal, of a journal. So I think it is important to be cognizant that you have quite a bit of clout and power and ability to change discourse through the vehicle of a medical journal. So I'm very interested in visual means of communication. There's many different types, obviously. I, as a visual artist, have a kind of an inclination towards visual means. So, you know, things like infographics and just like all like non-traditional ways of presenting just like, text on a paper. I'm interested in kind of pushing boundaries, I suppose.
So let me take you back to the beginning, because I'm interested in the way people get to medical school. So
Okay.
when you were at high school, how did you combine? Were you always interested in art, in the humanities? How did you combine those when trying to focus on the scientific subjects?
Yeah, I have always been interested in art. As a kid, if somebody asked you what do you want to be when you grow up, I actually, my two were artist and archaeologist. Medicine was not actually, I kind of almost actively didn't want to go into medicine because it was a bit of a stereotypical thing to do. But then I entered, it was like grade 11 biology, and I realized, oh man, this is interesting stuff. So then I kind of started thinking more seriously about medicine. Yeah, I guess throughout high school, I was always doing art, even curricularly. So it was always kind of part of my days. Um,
Tell me a little bit about your art and how you came to, why you paint this way, and why you have such vibrant colors, and what you're trying to tell me.
yeah, I actually do. For my art, for the media that I use, I kind of use all sorts of things. I guess vibrant colors does tend to be a cross-cutting theme, but I, I use acrylics, watercolor, pen and ink, like alcohol markers. I actually started doing pyrographic art, so wood burning. Um, and I guess that's something that, even if you don't believe in a higher power or something, I seem to have this innate ability to be able to use different media, and it's fun for me to be able to experiment and create, and I like the results. Other people have that in, sports, or like my husband, he's like a super athlete and can just do different kind of sports really well and doesn't even need to try. I don't have that in, athletic world, but within creative domains, I like I feel very blessed to have this kind of propensity towards just experimenting and using different media and just seeing what happens and liking the results. I like what ends up coming out of my experimentation. Probably I've been influenced just, my Indian heritage, and we just have lots of bright colors generally, culturally, in our clothing and our decor. So that might probably be, I just kind of mixed colors, and there was no real rhyme or reason. I guess that's another thing. I think for sure a deliberate thing I do. I don't do realistic work in my art. I find that um it's like putting pressure on myself and like a bit of a stress if I'm trying to emulate, recreate an image that's supposed to look like real. I don't that doesn't feel good to me. I just want to feel like I can just freely experiment, and that's why I guess more of my art is more representational as opposed to like representing an image but not exactly. So that's actually a very deliberate thing I do. Probably the one deliberate thing.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because although your art is abstract and unstructured, you're also a poet,
Mm.
and you can't write poetry that's abstract and unstructured. Tell me a little bit about your poetry.
I've honestly not called myself a poet until very recently. I haven't hesitated to call myself an artist, like a visual artist, and that might be because of maybe the quantity of work that I've created visually as a poet. I've been fortunate to have a few pieces published in health humanities spaces in the last couple of years. And I think that's probably why I've been feeling more confident to call myself a poet, which is, it's kind of off, right? You're still a poet if you write poetry for yourself. But when with the written word, I like creating images, which kind of maybe relates to my visual arts. I like creating vivid imagery through the words, like really lush descriptive language. I playing with images through words. That's actually something I just tend to end up doing. But at the same time, in writing, I try to follow, I forget if it was Hemingway, but who said, you want every word to have heft. I don't like superfluous words for the sake of it, which kind of might sound antithetical, as an antithesis to lush and descriptive imagery. But I try to do both. I try like to make it a vivid image through words, but also not for the words for the sake of words. Um, every word has a meaning, and I try. That's why I guess I tend to do maybe shorter form poetry and haiku. I enjoy the challenge of kind of creating an image within certain constraints.
Now I'm going to spring a surprise on you because
Another one.
I, I'd like you to read one of your poems.
Okay.
And the poem I'd like you to read is Giving Pause.
You know your life's ship was crafted to sink at sea one day, but from this, how did this unseen slight speck of protein in gene sink its teeth so deep? Did it know it would truly unfold and remold the shape of us all? It is not all bad. Air, soil, wealth of Mother Earth, sweeter than the past. Slight speck giving you moments of pause to sit still, feel uncertainty. Every changing day revealing new soft spaces to live with presence. Maybe you've never relaxed into the chaos. Now you have a chance.